What Tim Kaine said to Pompeo has crooked Hillary regretting her affiliation with him, by US4Trump.com. On Wednesday, senators held a Foreign Relations Committee hearing on Capitol Hill about President Trump's private meeting with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland. Secretary of State Michael Pompeo was on absolute fire after being questioned from the panel's top Democrats. The Democrats during the hearing clearly pre-planned their anti-Trump agenda, surprise, surprise, while trying to make the president look bad at any cost. However, they were messing with the wrong guy, because Secretary Mike Pompeo is sharp as a tack, and he didn't fall for their baited questions. Senator Tim Kaine was next to get shut down by the Secretary of State. Kaine started out trying to smear the president, bringing up President Trump's meeting with Vladimir Putin in Helsinki, Finland. He brought up the military, then quoted an article from left-wing Washington Post about General Dunford, chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, saying that Dunford hadn't been briefed on Helsinki. Kaine asked Pompeo why there were no briefings or discussions to General Dunford that took place in Helsinki, and Pompeo told him politely that he would have to ask the Department of Defense or Chairman Dunford himself. But getting to the gist of the matter so you can understand the clip, at one point when Pompeo came in with the blow, making crooked Hillary regretting her affiliation with Senator Tim Kaine, when he started quoting from the Washington the Washington Examiner or something, and Pompeo tells him, like, you're quoting from a liberal, in a sense, Washington Post, excuse me. You're quoting from a liberal paper, and you seem to be giving a great deal of credit to the Russian Ministry of Defense with truthfulness, Pompeo declared in front of everyone. We'll take a listen. Mike Pompeo just makes a fool out of him, but in the end, it's what did Kaine, what was he trying to prove? Nothing. He winds up just speaking, trying to look for help from his buddies, but at the same time, nobody's chiming in either. And he just, asked questions and didn't accomplish anything.
Thank you. Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Secretary, just a couple of thoughts. I was very discouraged at the Helsinki summit when the president basically was offered a choice in some of the questions. Did he believe U.S. intel, or did he believe Vladimir Putin's protestations that he had engaged in hacking of the election? And he basically said, my own people have made a great case to me. Vladimir Putin has made a great case to me. I don't see why Russia would have done this. He came back and corrected it the next day in the United States, but at the end he said, I believe my intel community, but there's a lot of people out there, it could have been someone else. And then this dragged on for a couple of days. You know where I live. I have a lot of constituents who used to be your employees at the CIA. People come up to me all the time in Virginia and say, I'm with the IC, and they are very demoralized by this. They're very demoralized that we're standing next to Vladimir Putin. The president's words were to suggest that he trusted Vladimir Putin over them. There was the suggestion when President Trump said it was an incredible offer about Ambassador McFaul, that he was also potentially willing to throw not just intel folks under the bus, but State Department diplomats under the bus. They live in Virginia too. They feel the demoralization of your comments today that we're going to go to bat for current reformer. That's very, very helpful. But what I want to ask you about is our military and our military leadership. There was an article yesterday in the Washington Post. General Joseph F. Dunford, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, as of Monday, Dunford still hadn't been briefed on Helsinki, even though it directly affects more than 1 million troops Dunford overseas. Do you know why there have been no briefing of General Dunford about the discussions that took place at Helsinki?
Senator, you have to ask the Department of Defense or Chairman Dunford.
But you don't dispute that was, you have no knowledge that there was a briefing of General Dunford today about the Helsinki discussion, do you?
Senator, you just read me a piece from the Washington Post.
Yeah, but I'm asking your knowledge. Do you have any knowledge that the administration has shared discussions about U.S.-Russia military issues with the head of the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff?
I've actually spoken with Chairman Dunford about it. I was with him yesterday in a series of meetings, and we had a chance to have a conversation about it, yes.
Okay,
about our plan, absolutely.
Okay, so yesterday may have been the first time he was briefed about it. I want to ask about
General.
General.
Possible, yes.
I was going to ask about General Votel, the information that Senator Shaheen mentioned earlier. He expressed wariness about working with Russia, and the Russian Defense Ministry. This is an interesting statement. They went after General Votel, the head of CENTCOM, who oversees, as you know, U.S. military operations in the Middle East, including Syria. Quote, with his statements, General Votel not only discredited the official position of his Supreme Commander-in-Chief. Are you aware what the official position is that is being referenced in that statement?
You'd have to speak with the Russian Ministry of Defense to know what it was he was referring to.
But you can understand why we're concerned. If it's being reported in Russian press as Secretary Flake and Senator Flake and Senator Shaheen said that they're talking about official positions that the president has outlined. As far as you know, General Votel's statements did not violate any official position in the United States, did they?
You seem to be giving a great deal of credit to the Russian Ministry of Defense
for
truthfulness.
Let me ask you about General Votel.
I might not share that same.
Let me ask you about General Votel. As far as
great credit, I have great belief in his truthfulness.
So you do not believe that any of the statements that he's made, including those that I read, violate any official position in the United States, do you?
If you would, that's best approach to General Votel, the Department of Defense. I mean, we're now 3 orders removed. I'm sorry.
If I could introduce for the record, there's an interesting article in BuzzFeed News just recently, today, that just lists a whole series of headlines, and I think these are instructive, Mr. Chair. Trump's announcement that he will end U.S.-Korea drills catches Pentagon off guard. Pentagon in Seoul is surprised by Trump pledge to halt military exercises. Pentagon caught off guard by Space Force announcement. Trump signals withdrawal very soon of U.S. troops from Syria, surprising Pentagon and State Department. Pentagon caught by surprise by Trump's travel ban, pushes for some Iraqis to get special consideration. U.S. Joint Chiefs blindsided by Trump's transgender ban. Northcom caught off guard as Trump orders troops to U.S.-Mexico border. If I could introduce this for the record, Mr. Chair.
Without objection.
I worry about an administration that would take the Putin position over our intel community. I worry about the administration that would suggest it might be a great deal to consider handing over a former diplomat for questioning. I worry about an administration that is catching the Pentagon off guard, that is not consulting with General Dunford or briefing him for a week after a summit of this importance to our military. Mr. Secretary, you're aware of the NDAA prohibition, the current prohibition on Russian and U.S. joint military operations, are you not?
I'm aware of the existence of that provision, yes.
The provision prohibits any use of funds, it's in the NDAA, any use of funds to support joint Russia and U.S. military operations, and it also gives the Secretary of Defense the ability to undertake a national security waiver if he thinks that that's the right idea. Does the administration accept the legality and binding nature of that provision of law?
Senator, I think the DoD General Counsel would be the right person to ask about the intricacies of an NDAA provision that had to do with complex issues that span the gap between, I think, what you're getting between deconfliction and coordination. It's a complex undertaking. Not a waiver that the State Department has the authority, but right. More broadly, yes, this administration follows the law, okay. If that's the question.
So sitting here today, you're not aware of a legal concern that the administration has about this NDA provision, are you?
I'm not aware of one.
And you're not aware that the Secretary of Defense has issued any kind of a waiver to allow U.S.-Russia military joint operations, are you?
No, Senator.
With respect to North Korea, we were told by our expert witnesses, and I echo a little bit what Senator Cardin said, that a first test of their seriousness is will they disclose what they have. In your discussions with North Korea, have they reached a point yet where there has been any agreement made about them disclosing the extent of their nuclear infrastructure?
I'd prefer not to answer questions about the nature of our negotiations, other than to say that your proposition that a good first step is the disclosure of the range of their nuclear infrastructure capabilities, an initial declaration, so to speak, is something that's at the very forefront of what it is we think makes sense to get them to a point where we can verify their full denuclearization.
Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I'd like to put one other additional item in for the record, which is an article just recently written by the Saudi ambassador to the United States, Prince Khalid bin Salman, why Iran's malign behavior must be confronted, not appeased. And the thing that I think is interesting for us is he basically makes this argument and says that Saudi Arabia stands very willing to help the United States undertake all the actions that he suggests should be taken. I'm very concerned about this too, but my time would not allow further questions, and I would like to put it
Without
in the
objection,
record.
will be entered.
Well, the only thing I have to say about this is, like, look how fast they're interrogating what happened in Helsinki with Vladimir Putin. Is not the first president to take a private meeting. They set up this whole hearing in no time at all. No investigation into Hillary, yet let's go and investigate Trump. I mean, really? You know, I mean, it is just disgusting what this country has come to at this point. But look, they think they're going to get anything. They got nothing. They're a total mess. They have no message, and they only blame the Russians for everything. That story is starting to get old now. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching.